My dog JT in the building. These are my trades on the Nasdaq today. Look at that sell I could have held all day. This is where I closed once we broke this low here. That's where I closed. My entry was right above here. I could have closed a couple and then left the rest to break even, which would have netted me an extra 64 points, and I caught 30. So that would have been pretty decent, but so I'm about to give you some sauce. Pay attention to this. You see this gap here on gold? You see this gap here on the Nasdaq? Those gaps are important during market open. Always pay attention to those. Why? Usually when we retest the gap on the same day, price rejects. So last night market opened, price came down. As we started trickling up, you would have assumed the price was gonna come up and fill the gap as we started filling the gap. But what do you see here? 30-minute closure with no top wick. Next 30-minute came up with the top wick first and then rejected down. Knowing the concept of gaps not getting filled usually the same day, you have a high probability of taking a sell anywhere in the gap. So you wait for the first kind of reaction into the gap, and then this is the reaction that we had, and you would have sold down. And then the second time we came into the gap, after we already attempted a little bit of a fill, you see here that we attempted to fill once again, didn't completely fill the gap, and then rejected once again. And then we tried it one more time, and now gold is consolidating. Now, what gold did was it made a high, rebroke the daily high, and is now consolidating at the daily high levels, which is this right here. So that means that gold can either make a bottom wick today and then drive up through the gap, filling it finally, or reject the gap once again. And now when you look at the Nasdaq, what do you see the Nasdaq did, right? As soon as the Nasdaq got into this gap, you thought that we were going to come down and fill the gap, right? We came down, we tried to fill the gap, and we rejected. We came down, tried to fill the gap again, we rejected. We came down, we tried to fill the gap again, and we rejected. You see that? You can take rejections anywhere you want along the inside of this gap, knowing that there's a high probability that price is going to continue rejecting out of the gap until it fills it. So usually, oh look, market just opened right now. So let's remove all my drawings. Let's go over to gold, remove all my drawings. And let's see what gold did. What up, dude? El hermano mío, ¿cómo estás? Yeah, my 50K evaluation is actually going pretty well. I'm up 469. I'm doing well, brother. I'm doing well. So, let's see. So, gold today on the daily chart. I'm gonna do a little NVIDIA breakdown for you. Let's go to the weekly. So, monthly. What month are we? We're in October. Monthly. This monthly is extremely bullish. You're swinging Nvidia calls, right? Beautiful. I gave you blue, so that way you're a mod now. And Nvidia is starting to drive up. We're bullish. This weekly on Nvidia has closed above the most recent resistance. The next weekly came up, closed above most recent resistance. But what do you notice, right? What's one thing that you noticed? Every candle usually has a top or bottom wick, top or bottom wick, top or bottom wick. What happened when this candle drove without a bottom wick? The next weekly came down, attempted to grab more orders, and then drove up. So we're having a very similar situation right here, where on this weekly we don't have much of a bottom wick, and this weekly opened up death dropping immediately, which could mean we're coming down back to the 137 levels to grab some orders to form a bottom wick before we drive up for a continuation. It doesn't necessarily mean that we're gonna come all the way down to 137 before the drive up, because as you can see here, we didn't fill the gap all the way down, or we didn't fill all the way down to form an actual bottom wick for that weekly, but we made an attempt. So if you see, immediately we formed some sort of a double top here, rejecting all-time highs, which could be the start of a downtrend. Knowing that this weekly started off with no bottom wick, the previous week started off with no top wick, the previous weekly has not much of a bottom wick, so you're looking at bouncing off anywhere near here to here. So you could look for a bounce off of this level here, which would be anywhere in this zone before a continuation to the upside, which would make sense because that would be the retest of the previous resistance. So you might see some drawdown. Post market it's at 140. Yeah, you might see some drawdown, a couple of dollars before a continuation to the upside. We still are very much bullish, right? Let's look at the 4 hour where there's less gaps. Right, so if you start drawing your trends, we're on a strong downtrend, uptrend. We just broke below it and then we're rejecting it now. So that's what I'm saying. You could see a push to the downside here, but we're still super bullish on Nvidia. I'm still super bullish. So look, you can move your trend line down now to here. You have 3 touch points, and even then, after the 3 touch points, you're still breaking below. So you might see some sort of pullback on Nvidia, my brother, but you have 2 weeks on your call, so you're probably gonna see something form like this, right? Nvidia came down. Look, it's clear on the 1 hour as well. So Nvidia came down after a bearish trend, rejecting this resistance here. We just formed a double top. We crossed the trend line here. We're starting to close below this area. We filled the gap and we rejected it. So we are on a downtrend on Nvidia right now. But this is the area where the gap is at, right? So we initially bounced off the gap, formed a support, but then we also formed a resistance. And what happened now, this bearish engulfing candle closed below all of this. It's what we call a gladiator candle. It just closed below the most recent range and filled the gap, completely disregarding the gap, and it closed below. So that indicates that price is likely going to come down before coming back up. So if you trade candle patterns, this would be your cup and handle. That's what it would look like. But yeah, that's basically what we're looking at there. For Nvidia to drive up and to be bullish, it would have to completely respect this area right here. It would have to completely respect it and then drive up. But our daily needs a bottom wick tomorrow. So where's our daily gonna most likely form a bottom wick at? So the way that we closed today, we closed with barely a top wick, a shit bottom wick. So where can we form a top wick on the daily at before continuation to the downside? Likely at the most recent support or resistance on the 4 hour, which is kind of the only data we have. So tomorrow you might get a flip up to like 142 before continuation to the downside to finish off this bearish trend. That would make sense. So what I would do is I would keep a hard stop loss, right? If I'm in an entry right here, if I'm in a long position right here, right? Where am I gonna really try to put a stop loss? My stop loss would be at the most recent level where price can probably reject off of, still giving me an opportunity to either average in or to get out in profit, right? Or to if I don't average in, it's an indication that the price can still go my way. So where would your stop loss be? My stop loss, I would like it to be anywhere like around 136. Why? Because you have clean traffic all the way down here, down to at least 127. So you don't want to be in drawdown from 141 all the way down to 127. So you want to give yourself a couple opportunities. You want to give yourself this order block opportunity here. You want to give yourself this level opportunity here. You want to give yourself this level opportunity here. You want to give yourself some of this level opportunity here. But what happens is, as price starts making its way down, you for continuation, or if it's setting itself up for a liquidity grab, right? So how would you identify that? If price come down, right, forming lower lows, lower highs, you're likely gonna continue coming down. But if price does something like this, right, where area and then just plummets right back to the upside, that's a different story. That's what I would call a liquidity grab. So if we see that tomorrow pre-market price drops down to these areas here, I would ensure that your stop loss is quite tight, so that way during market open you can get out, just in case we do continue to the downside. But you have plenty of data tonight till 8 o'clock and tomorrow morning before your entry, because if you see price doing this, keep a hard stop. But if you see price hover like this tomorrow, market open, pre-market is not doing anything, and then market open, price drops down like this, I would keep my stop loss, right? But I would still hold because you might bounce. You see what I'm saying? So if price is coming down like this, that's forming structure and a continuation of the downtrend. If price does something like this, that could just be a liquidity grab for a continuation, right? So we're highly bullish on this, but on the higher time frame, we did form some resistance here. So that's how you want to look at it. You can't just have your analysis from yesterday. You got to look at the new day and add a new analysis to the day, and a new analysis as as candles are printing. Every hourly candle should give you an update on your trade, or every higher time frame candle should give you an update on your trade, right? So if you're taking a trade based off the higher time frame, the 4-hour time frame or whatever, you should have some sort of, every hour that passes by, you should be able to look at the charts and say, okay, this is continuing to go in my direction, or oh no, this is pulling back for me. You know what I mean? So for my peeps on the gold market side of things, for my peeps on the gold market side of things, stick around, JT. Watch how I hit. So, gold on the monthly. We are in a very, very bullish trend on the monthly. Gold is just flying to all-time highs, non-stop breaking all-time highs, continuing to drive without a care in the world. We had some sort of consolidation right here. Price kind of hung out right here for a little bit. And then now we're just continuing the uptrend. What do you see? higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, just a continuation of the trend. So gold is massively bullish. Let's go down to the weekly. And what is my weekly doing, right? Our weekly formed the top wick already, and it formed the bottom wick already, and our weekly is kind of doji, so we're indecisive right now as of this weekly. The previous weekly didn't have as much volume as this weekly candle right here, so we could be entering into some sort of consolidation. So what do you notice here? This daily candle came up, formed resistance, came down, formed support, came up, formed resistance, and it's now kind of consolidating. So we are stuck in this little range here, I would say. Right, so we're stuck in this range here, I would say. This is the daily range for the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days, and that's actually a weekly range within the previous weekly's range. That's beautiful. So these levels here are weekly highs and lows. So we have our weekly highs and our weekly lows. Previous weekly high. And then this would be previous weekly low. Boom. So we are stuck in this range. So what does that tell me? It tells me that we're consolidating in this range, ready to load up. So I do not want to be taken out. I don't want to be taking many breakout trades because we could literally just be bouncing off all these major levels. So this was our previous daily high. Previous daily high. This was our previous daily low. So it looks like we're bouncing off the previous daily's resistance. This previous daily high, we're kind of rejecting this area here. We're on our way down. So we tried to break up and price gap down. We tried to fill the gap and now we rejected to the downside. So something in this area is pushing gold down and keeping gold down. So I want to mark this area up as an area of interest right here. So I'm going to mark this whole area up right here. This is an area that's very, very important. Let's look at the hourly and see what the hourly looks like. Yeah, I would keep this area here marked up. Let's get the average, which would be probably here. Right, so that's my area of interest right here. This is our previous daily high. We rejected the previous daily high here. Price then came up, tried to blast through the highs, and it rejected once again. We tried here and it rejected once again. So we're having a very strong reaction to this level here. So is this our lower high on the daily finally forming before a continuation to the downside? Is this a new resistance forming so we can continue to the downside? Our weekly already has tops and bottom wicks. This daily just needs a top wick, so we do not have a top wick on our daily. So this is our daily open right here. This is our open. So we could be having some sort of a rangy day. So I want to be looking for closures below this area here. Once we start getting some closures below here, I'll be happy for taking sells for continuation to the downside, because I do think that we're in a consolidation phase, that we're going to be consolidating for a little bit. So likely I want to take a sell to the downside here. And this is a 30-minute range. It is 130 pips actually to fill this range. So it might just bounce. So that's something you also got to take a look at. So look, our candle closed below, no bottom wick. This candle came down from the bottom wick first. This was actually a pretty good buy here on this 5-minute on the first initial market open. But see, market open now, price is coming up, and we're starting to we might be here to retest the gap. So you actually might see me take a trade live here. Oanda has a gap, but my broker doesn't have a gap. Let's see what happens here. That would be the rebreak of the daily highs. We have any news tomorrow? What's tomorrow looking like? Tonight we have some unemployment rates at 7:30 for the Japanese yen. Tomorrow we have trash. Positive last week. Nice, bro. Last week I came out plus 0.5%. You might actually see me take a trade here, if anybody's watching. And it's about to activate me. It activated one of the entries. a break even here. It didn't even activate all my positions. No, I closed my trade here. All right. So, I'm actually gonna call it early here tonight. Tonight is a very slow night. There's nobody watching tonight. Have a wonderful day, everybody. I'll be back tomorrow. You know how we do.